1912, in the ancient waterside of Oguta, was a son born into the Nzerewe royal family. His name was Anthony Nwedo, and heaven already knew this one would not rule from a throne, he would rule from an altar. His great-grandfather, Eze Onumon, was Obi of Oguta. His uncle, Chief Nzerewe, was warrant chief. Power was in his bloodline. Even the small Catholic church in Oguta, Oka Apati, stood close to the family compound for protection. Church and royalty side by side. Perhaps that was no coincidence. Perhaps destiny was already whispering. Young Gogo walked between two worlds, the authority of his ancestors and the quiet authority of Christ. And one day he chose, not the palace, but the priesthood. He attended Sacred Heart Primary School, Oguta, Government Primary School, Owerri, Christ the King School, Aba. By 1930, barely grown, he was already teaching. This was not an ordinary boy. In 1931, he entered St. Paul's Minor Seminary, Onitsha. At the same time, studying at the famous St. Charles College. He was brilliant, disciplined, and focused. From 1938 to 1942, he had philosophy in Enugu, and from 1942 to 1945, theology at Okpala. Years of study, years of discipline, years of sacrifice. Because priesthood is not inherited, it is received in silence. July 29, 1945, at Holy Trinity Cathedral, Onitsha. He knelt before Bishop Charles Hiri, and heaven said yes. He was ordained alongside Right Reverend Edward Ahaj. It had been a painstaking road, but the royal son had now become a priest. His first assignment was St. Joseph's Ida, present-day Kogi State. Far from home, far from royalty. But there he became known as Father Keke. Hardworking, obedient, and tireless. He did not carry himself like a prince. He carried himself like a servant. In 1945, he traveled to Ireland, a Nigerian priest crossing continents. He studied at the National University of Ireland, Dublin. Graduated with a BA in 1950. But he was not done. He entered the Holy Ghost Father's novitiate. In 1951, he was professed Father Anthony Mary Nwedo, CSSP. History was made. He became the first Nigerian Holy Ghost Father. Not first in Oguta, not first in Igbo land, first in Nigeria. He was opening doors no Nigerian had walked through before. When he returned home, he did not rest. He taught in seminaries. He became vice principal, parish priest in Olu, pioneer principal of Madonna High School. He believed something radical. If you educate the child, you liberate the nation. Years before independence, he was already building intellectual independence. By 1959, while serving at Madonna High School, he was appointed the first indigenous residential bishop of the newly created Diocese of Umuahia. The diocese was massive: Okigwe, Aba, and Umuahia zones. Only 21 priests and just 9 Nigerians. He described it himself: a field overgrown with weeds, a farm longing for laborers, a rich virgin soil waiting for farmers. It was not a diocese, it was a mission battlefield, and he accepted it, not with pride, but with humility. On Pentecost Sunday, May 17, 1959, he was ordained bishop at CKC Aba. The royal son now wore a mitre. Some leaders complain about problems, but Bishop Nwedo created solutions. In 1960, he established Immaculate Conception Junior Seminary, and he sent priests abroad for higher studies. He built intellectual giants. And by 1986, Abia State University would testify: no diocese in Africa had as many intellectually trained clergy as Umuahia. And that was not accidental. It was vision. Bishop Nwedo built schools everywhere: Mercy High Schools across the diocese, primary schools, hospitals, clinics, you name it. By 1970, when government took over mission schools, it was a heavy blow. Education has never been the same, but the seed he planted remains alive. Many of today's leaders passed through those classrooms. Bishop Nwedo in 1961 founded the Daughters of Mary, Mother of Mercy, and in 1970 established the Sons of Mary, Mother of Mercy. He understood something powerful: if the church must survive in Africa, her sons and daughters must build the church. Bishop Nwedo is obviously a man of many firsts. A first son and first of his parents, first priest from Oguta, first Nigerian Holy Ghost Father, the first indigenous residential bishop in Nigeria, the first indigenous bishop to found a congregation, co-founder of the Knights of St. Mulumba, and participant in the Second Vatican Council. He was not chasing firsts, he was simply answering God. But history kept writing his name. He laid the foundation for a befitting cathedral in Umuahia, a physical sign that the church had taken root. He appointed a young priest, Lucius Iwejuru Ugoji, as liaison officer. That young priest would later become bishop. Such was his eye for future leaders. He was awarded an OBE, Officer of the British Empire, a CON, Commander of the Order of the Niger, and many more. However, if you asked him, his greatest honor was the priesthood. Bishop Nwedo retired in 1990. But retirement did not silence him. He heard confessions, taught catechism, celebrated Mass, even 3 times on Sundays. In 1995, at his Golden Jubilee, he ordained 12 priests. Even in old age, he multiplied shepherds. In 1997, sickness came, pain increased, movement reduced, but his faith deepened. He who had built so much now lay still, yet his trust in God did not shake. And on February 12th, 2000, he answered the final call. The shepherd went home. When he began, there was only one diocese, but when he retired, there were three: Umuahia, Okigwe, and Aba. From 3 parishes to 70, from scarcity to abundance, from dependence to indigenous strength. He proved something powerful, that Africa does not need to import holiness. Africa can grow it. This is not just the story of Bishop Anthony Nwedo. This is the story of what happens when a young man says yes without reservation. This is the story of a man somewhere from Oguta whose waters still whisper his name.